Nothing ever stays the same, ladies and gentlemen. If it did, I'd probably be out of a job. I typically go by the saying of people change, feelings change, things change. Nothing ever really stays the same, and for Yu-Gi-Oh!, it pretty much follows that exact same guideline. Let's take, for example, the Rongo Turbo deck was one of the best decks of the format coming into this format. People thought that it would be an overly dominant force and needed to be hit. While the dynamic of the Rongo Turbo deck did completely change the landscape of Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's no longer one of the best decks of the format, as we can see by YCS Sydney. It's almost nowhere to be found. One would have to wonder, wow, what changes were made between decks to make Rongo less effective? Well, the answer is relatively simple and complicated at the same time. Hand traps, or the lack thereof, have definitely hindered the Rongo strategy, as well as being able to play certain cards and being able to play certain staples to allow you to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And in this video, forget the Rongo, I'm just going to be telling you guys the best staples of the January 2019 format, because change is inevitable, but while we change, we can always take advantage of the cards we have right now. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then go and destroy that subscribe button, but more importantly, go ahead and hit that notification bell, because, well, we just too strong. Also want to give a special thanks to every single one of my Patreons. Without you guys, videos like this would not be possible. Also, a mad shout out to our newest Patreon, Jonathan Hanks. Make sure you add yourself to the Discord, as well as get in contact with me or Jest, so we can get you in the top dogs to take advantage of all of your rewards. Without further ado, I present to you the best staple cards inside of the January 2019 format. Now, before we get into the top staples of this format, I think it's only fair to show you the cards that have just been declining in play. That doesn't mean that these cards are completely bad, but they don't necessarily dominate the format as if they once were to. Coming in hot at number 5 is Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This card almost has no application into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. With some of the best decks being Sky Striker and Thunder Dragon, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit doesn't really hit much. Not to say that Ghost Ogre is a bad card, it just doesn't do a lot for the format right now. Number 4 is Nightmare Cerberus. This card is a staple link monster that discarding a card allows you to destroy a monster special summon in the main monster zone. Now, there are quite a few problems with Nightmare Cerberus. First of all, it's a Link 2 monster with arrows pointing upwards and to the right. That doesn't necessarily give you the best link arrows when that is your first monster going to the extra monster zone. Secondly, destruction isn't necessarily a great thing to have right now. Again, destroying monsters in the extra monster zone or in the main monster zone doesn't do anything to Sky Strikers, and destroying a Thunder Dragon Colossus in the main monster zone through Nightmare Cerberus effect can actually hurt you more than it helps you. Number 3, there's going to be quite a few hand traps on here, and Droll Lockbird is one of them. Droll Lockbird is on a decline, not because it's a bad card or anything. Droll Lockbird does excellent against Sky Strikers, but there just so happens to be an entire deck built around preventing your opponent from searching inside of Thunder Dragons. I'm not saying that Droll Lockbird can't find its way inside of side decks, but more often than not, a lot of decks can actually have access to Thunder Dragon Colossus, and that might just be an easier way to summon it against your opponent and lock them down. Number 2 on this list is actually another puzzling card, but the more you start to think about it, the more it explains itself. Effect Veiler being on this list. 3 of the 5 cards on this list are hand traps, and Effect Veiler definitely is one of them. It is a little bit more immune to the Gumblar loop, as you can actually use it if your opponent is still trying to chain block you with Space Connector and Blue Mountain Butterspy. But still, it doesn't have too many applicable uses to negate monster effects. A lot of times, you can negate in the Kagari, and they have a way to protect it through their Sky Striker spell card, and negating Thunder Dragon monster effects or Thunder Dragon monsters on the field isn't really beneficial at all times. You combine that with the fact that Effect Veiler can only be used in main phase 1, or Infinite Impermanence can be used almost any given time, provides some back row disruption, as well as the ability to activate it in the hand if you control no cards. It's just a really powerful card. Now, don't get me wrong, Effect Veiler is an awesome budget option, but Infinite Impermanence just has to take the cake over it. Number 1 on this list is a card that is not necessarily puzzling to why it doesn't see play, but it was bound to see a decline on how the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game is changing. Evenly Matched, really good Yu-Gi-Oh card. Unfortunately, decks can not only build boards, but they can have resources in their hand, making Evenly Matched a less desirable card to play. Don't get me wrong, against a lot of back row heavy decks that don't necessarily gain that advantage by giving themselves a board, Evenly Matched is powerful against, namely being Altergeist. But the other decks, such as Sky Striker, which almost doesn't care about Evenly Matched, and Thunder Dragons, who can still just make a pretty decent board even after you evenly match them, Evenly Matched is still a great card, just not necessarily the best card and seen in every side deck for said reason. Now that we have that done, let's start talking about these awesome staples inside of the format. Coming in hot at number 5 is Dino Wrestler Pankratrops. Now this card is insanely powerful and I think should be in almost everyone's side deck if you're not playing a couple inside of your main board. What it does is if your opponent controls more monsters than you can spell summon this 2600 monstrosity to your side of the field. On top of that, it has the quick effect to be able to tribute a Dino Wrestler monster to destroy one card on the field. Oh my, this guy is insane. Not only do we get a Beefcake Cyber Dragon monster, but the ability to clear certain cards off the board before they can be activated, mainly those pesky face down set spells and trap cards that your opponent wants to use, or to be able to disrupt some of those monster flows. The best thing about Pankratrops is that he can be summoned at almost any given time as long as your opponent controls more monsters as opposed to you controlling no monsters and your opponent controlling monsters. Pankratrops is always a viable threat. I think that this card is really powerful and again, it should be played in everyone's side deck if not your main deck. It's just so good against so many great decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Number 4 on this list keeps popping up as a staple card, and I hate to say it, it is one of the most expensive cards in Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's up there for a reason. Infinite Impermanence is insanely powerful, ladies and gentlemen. It has effectively replaced hand traps. Why? Because hand traps can be called by the grave, a card that is at 3. Infinite Impermanence cannot. Infinite Impermanence also can't be Neospace and Aqua Dolphin, so it's definitely dictating the meta right now. If you control no cards on your field, you can activate this card from your hand to target a monster on your opponent's side of the field and negate its effects. If this set face down card was activated, not only can you negate a monster effect, but spells and traps in the same column as this card effects are negated as well. Infinite Impermanence is extremely powerful, and for you budget players, I really do hope a reprint because it is format dictating. It can negate cards like Thunder Dragon Colossus, so now you can turn on your searching and also prevent it from protecting itself. It can negate cards like Sky Striker, Ace Kagari, and Shizuku, whether they need to recur a Sky Striker spell card from their graveyard or if they're trying to get a Sky Striker spell card from the deck. And not only on top of that, it stops their back row, so if you know where the Widowmaker is being set, then Infinite Impermanence can definitely come up in handy there. And even against the Altergeist matchup, it stops the Multi-Faker and the card behind it. It definitely changes how players want to activate their cards or set their cards in the spell and trap card zone, as well as the ability to just straight up negate monster effects, which is really important in this format right now. Number 3 on this list probably has one of the best comeback stories ever, because when it first was introduced into the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, it was seen as a pretty bad Yu-Gi-Oh card. Yes, I can snatch my opponent's monster, but Snatch, Steal, and Bane Control are just better cards. Like, I can't even tribute it. What am I gonna do? And then fast forward to Synchros, the card became too powerful, so powerful that it had to be hit. Now we're in 2019, the card is back at 3, and people are just starting to realize that this card is probably even more now busted, or more busted now than ever before, because while Synchro monsters require tuners, Link monsters just normally require 2 monsters, sometimes just 2 effect monsters, and that's plenty inside of this Yu-Gi-Oh card game. Mind Control is insanely good. Not only do you get a resource, you deny resources from your opponent, taking some really good cards like their Thunder Dragon Colossus or their Altergeist Multi-Faker or Silquitos, denies them advantage and essentially gives you a monster to link with. Mind Control is pretty straight up simple. If you're going against a deck that your opponent likes to use to lock your opponent out, then go ahead and Mind Control it. Take that monster and use it for your own benefits. If you just so happen to be going second a lot, Mind Control might help you when making those link boards and breaking your opponent's boards. Mind Control is heavily underrated and forces the opponent to play around the card if played correctly. I think that it's a very important card inside of this format and will continue to be a staple as Yu-Gi-Oh! Progresses. Number 2 was once viewed as one of the most powerful counter traps, if not the most powerful counter trap in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game, and if you guys ask me now, it is the most powerful counter trap in Yu-Gi-Oh! Solemn Strike is that good. Monster effects are more and more important now, and Solemn Strike basically denies it, whether it's from the hand, field, or graveyard. At the cost of 1,500 life points, Solemn Strike can deny that threat. It's really powerful, but what makes Solemn Strike even more powerful, it's his ability to deny pendulum summons as well. Being able to negate an entire pendulum summon because players are starting to pick up that pendulums are like still really good is extremely important. And even though we're in Master Rule 4, Solemn Strike still serves utility because every Link summon can be stopped by Solemn Strike. It's just a really powerful card into this format, being able to negate critical monster summons, as well as still being able to negate those monster effects that could determine the game is really important, and Solemn Strike is one of those cards. Now granted, it is a little bit slow, seeing that it is a counter trap card, and there are ways around Solemn Strike, especially in the time situation. 1,500 life points could come up a lot. I'd recommend maybe debunk for those hand or graveyard reliant effect monsters that you need to get rid of, or maybe Black Horn of Heaven to stop those critical monster summons. But to be honest, Solemn Strike does put the best of both worlds of those cards together. You just might want to switch to those other cards when you're going into a situation where you could be going into time and those life points could matter. Before we get into number 1, there are some staple Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that I just could not mention or it'd be longer than the top 5. And then there are some cards that are in a decline a little bit that you guys should post down below in the comment section. It really helps us as a community. The next thing I want to talk about is, should we make a top 5 secret text video of this format? I'd be happy to give you guys one as long as you request it. Let's try to get this video to 250 likes, as well as to as many comments down below in the comment section talking about some awesome staple cards inside of this format, some cards in decline, and if you guys want to see that secret text video. Number 1 on this list is probably one of the most obvious cards, but sometimes you have to give it a little bit of reinforcement. To be honest with you guys, I felt that this list was a little redundant, seeing that you see these staple cards all the time, but maybe we just need a little bit of reminder to see who is the best of the best. Twin Twisters is definitely that card, and here's why. Twin Twisters is good in a back row heavy format, and if you guys haven't been paying attention, we've been creeping a little bit more into a back row heavy format. Sky Strikers is a back row heavy deck. Even though it plays almost non-existent amount of traps, maybe 6 at the most, Sky Strikers definitely plays the back row that can be easily disrupted by Twin Twisters. Altergeist is one of the better decks of the format, being able to check Thunder Dragons, and yes, Twin Twisters is a problem for them if they don't play the Waking Dragon, and if they do, the most cringe-worthy thing that you can do to an Altergeist player is to hit everything but the Waking Dragon with Twin Twisters. Any type of back row disruption is really powerful, but we gotta go with Twin Twisters because it allows you to disrupt so many decks, as opposed to Red Reboot only stopping trap cards and Dinosaur Pranker Traps only destroying one card. Twin Twisters allows you to hit multiple cards and advance your game state if you are playing a deck that can put cards in the graveyard for free. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the Cali Effect. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a like, and if you didn't, let us know down below in the comment section what we could do to be better. See, I gave you guys almost 4 things to talk about in the comment section. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day like I am.